After putting off a mission that was supposed to take off on November 21st, SpaceX says it will try to launch 2 Falcon 9 rockets 6 hours apart. But is this possible? Over 12 years, 189 launches of rockets from the Falcon 9 family have taken place, with 187 complete mission successes and 1 partial. Still, a secondary payload was left behind in orbit lower than expected and 1 complete failure. A rocket's payload, AIM-6, was also damaged before launch to prepare for an on-pad static fire test. So, will these 2 Falcon 9 launches be that successful as they anticipate? Welcome to Smarter Tech for all the trending technology news around the world. We keep you updated always. And without further ado, let's get started. SpaceX has put off launch of a Falcon 9 rocket carrying an Italian radar satellite for 3 days in a row. The company plans to send the mission into space from Cape Canaveral on Sunday evening. The next SpaceX launch, which was supposed to send Starlink internet satellites into space from the nearby Kennedy Space Center on Sunday, was moved to Monday. Italy's Cosmos SkyMed radar surveillance satellite was supposed to be launched by SpaceX on Thursday. Still, officials canceled the launch before loading propellants into the Falcon 9 rocket because of rain, low visibility, and thick clouds. On Friday, the weather at Cape Canaveral improved, but a thick layer of clouds stayed over the spaceport. With less than 10 minutes left in the countdown, SpaceX called off the launch. SpaceX intended to attempt once more. Officials said on Saturday that the Cosmos SkyMed mission from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station would be postponed once more until 6:11 p.m. on Sunday because the launch site's weather made it difficult to conduct pre-launch activities. The Italian radar imaging satellite will be put into polar orbit when the Falcon 9 rocket takes off from Cape Canaveral's Complex 40 launch pad and heads south over the Atlantic Ocean, parallel to Florida's east coast, then over the Straits of Florida, Cuba, and the Caribbean Sea. Before we continue, hold up. If you're watching us for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can enjoy our future videos while getting updated. Getting back to the topic, the first stage booster, which can be used more than once, will fly for the 3rd time and land in Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. At the same time, SpaceX workers rolled out another Falcon 9 rocket to Pad 39A on Saturday morning, a few miles north of Pad 40 at Kennedy Space Center. This weekend, when the rocket is turned on its side, it will launch another group of 49 satellites for SpaceX Starlink internet network. The Starlink mission was initially scheduled to launch on the military-run Eastern Range on Saturday, but due to launch delays at Pad 40 a few miles to the south, the launch was postponed to Sunday, then to Monday at 2:17 p.m. Even though 2 Falcon 9 rockets have been delayed by what seems to be a technical problem, SpaceX's next Cargo Dragon resupply mission to the International Space Station is still set to take off as early as 3:54 p.m. on November 22nd. Even Dragon's CRS-26 mission didn't avoid troubles in the days before. Early this month, SpaceX found a small leak in the Dragon spacecraft. The launch had to be moved from November 21st to November 22nd. Before that, Hurricane Nicole pushed back the launch of CRS-26 from November 18th to November 21st. Because of a hurricane, a leak in the Dragon, and problems with the rocket or payload of Eutelsat 10B, the launches took place just over 6 hours apart. On this, the US Space Launch Delta 45, which used to be called the 45th Space Wing, says that there is only a 10% chance of good weather for CRS-26 and Eutelsat 10B in 24 hours. There are only a few chances that both launches will go through a different 1 in 10 needles 6 hours apart. The next opportunity for Eutelsat 10B is on November 23rd, when the weather has a 60% chance of being good. After that, the next opportunity for CRS-26 will be on November 26th. CRS-26 will send the International Space Station a few thousand pounds of food, water, supplies, and the 3rd set of upgrade solar arrays. The mission will show off a new Falcon 9 booster, B-1076, and the 4th and last Cargo Dragon 2 spacecraft that can be used more than once, Capsule C211. The well-used booster will be sacrificed to help put the 5.5-ton Eutelsat 10B communication satellite into a higher transfer orbit than usual. This will likely cut weeks off the time it takes to raise the orbit, letting the satellite go into service sooner. SpaceX will still try to regain the two halves of Falcon 9's payload fairing over 1,000 kilometers away. 7 hours after a Falcon 9 rocket sent a 4-person crew into orbit from Florida, SpaceX launched another Falcon 9 from a foggy California spaceport Wednesday evening with 52 more Starlink internet satellites, setting a new record for the shortest time between two flights of SpaceX workhorse rocket. The 229-foot-tall liquid-fueled launcher took off at 4:10 p.m. from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg on California's central coast, about 140 miles northwest of Los Angeles. The mission, called Starlink 429, was launched from Vandenberg. It was SpaceX's 45th launch of the year and the second of 3 Falcon 9 missions planned for this week. And now on Thursday evening at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, a second Falcon 9 rocket is getting ready to launch with 2 commercial TV satellites for Inmarsat. The Starlink 429 mission took off from Vandenberg and headed southeast on a path over the Pacific Ocean parallel to the coast of Southern California and Baja California. It was powered by 9 main engines that ran on kerosene. About 2.5 minutes after liftoff, the Falcon 9's first stage booster, tail number B1071, separated from the upper stage and headed off an onshore landing on SpaceX drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, stationed in the Pacific. Less than 9 minutes after launch, the rocket touched down on the drone ship, utilizing propulsive braking burns to slow down and target the football field-sized craft. Following its initial launch in February on the NROL 87 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office, the reusable booster stage completed its 6th flight. The rocket launched the German military Sarah-1 radar surveillance satellite in June, flew once more in April on the NRO's NROL 85 mission, and most recently on July 22nd on a Starlink mission. The Starlink 429 booster will return to the port in California for maintenance and reuse after landing on Wednesday. So far, Vandenberg has served as the launch site for all of the booster's flights. And by the way, 4 retaining rods were ejected to remove the flat-packed Starlink satellites from the rocket. The Starlink satellites were planned to scatter and extend their solar panels after they separated from the Falcon 9 to start producing electricity to refuel their batteries. After completing an automated checkout and activation process, the satellites will deploy krypton-fueled ion thrusters to increase their altitude to 335 miles, where they will begin providing operational service for the Starlink network. 52 additional Starlink satellites were launched into one of the Internet constellation's 5 orbital shells by SpaceX. After 4 Vandenberg-based Starlink launches throughout the summer into Shell 3, one of the network's 2 polar orbital shells, SpaceX's mission on Wednesday was directed at Shell 4. Last year, SpaceX finished its launches to the first Starlink shell, which is inclined at 53.0 degrees. Evidently, the company's current priority is employing a series of Falcon 9 rocket flights from Florida and California to insert satellites into Shell 4. And so far, SpaceX has completed 45 missions in 2022, with most of those missions being flights aimed solely at putting Starlink satellites into orbit. The shortest gap between 2 Falcon 9 flights in SpaceX history was created on Wednesday when the launch from California took place 7 hours and 10 minutes after the Crew 5 mission launch from Kennedy Space Center. Between a Falcon 9 launch for another customer and a crew launch to the International Space Station, NASA needs about 2 days to look at more data. SpaceX couldn't launch the Starlink 429 mission from Vandenberg a day before Crew 5 but had to wait. SpaceX will only succeed in the feat, as with other rocket launches, if the weather and technology cooperate. And according to the US Space Force's 45th Weather Squadron, there is a higher than 90% likelihood of favorable weather for SpaceX's rescheduled launch. Anyway, do you believe the back-to-back launches will succeed? Comment down below. Also, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos. Goodbye!